Like today we're going to look at the second last sutta of volume 49, that is ST 49.22, Iti Moneya Sutta, the thus said discourse on sagehood, IT 3.2.8. So this sutta is simply called Moneya Sutta. Moneya is the abstract noun of the word muni, meaning the silent sage. So Moneya is a special term used in early Buddhism to represent the nature of Buddhahood, the nature of the saints in early Buddhism. Moneya, the state of a muni, silent sagehood if you like. So today we're going to look at what's the meaning of this silence. Now the prefix is iti. The iti is a short form for iti Vuttaka. Iti Vuttaka is one of the 15 smaller books in the 5th collection of the suttas. So this what's interesting here is this: the Iti Vuttaka is a collection of discourses remembered by a slave, actually. It's a woman slave of a Queen Samawati. So the queen is unable to leave the palace, so she sends her slave Kuchuttara or Uttara, the hunchback. So she goes every day, she buys some flowers and she offers to the Buddha, and she listens, and then she comes back and teaches Samawati and the 500 handmaidens. So the first remarkable thing we should note here is that the people of the Buddha's time, this slave even, has very good memory. I mean, she goes there, listens to the Buddha, comes back and teaches the teaching again. In fact, in the course of listening to all this sutta, she herself became a stream learner. So we have a whole collection here, remembered by a woman, not just any woman. She's just a common humble slave woman who's also a hunchback. So she became very wise as a result. So this is the Iti Vuttaka. So here, Iti Moneya Sutta is about sagehood. Now, we can use the word sagehood is the Buddha if we like, but sage rather. But sage is a much broader term. In fact, we'll talk about sagehood today in two areas. The first is the 3 kinds of sagehood, and then you have what are called the 6 kinds of sages. The 6 kinds of sages in terms of the 3 kinds of sagehood. First of all, let us look at the 6 kinds of sages that are given on page 161. Section 9. In fact, this is from what's called a canonical commentary, the Nidesa. The Nidesa commentary on the Guhataka Sutta, or the Guhataka Sutta Nidesa. This is from the ancient text called Sutta Nipata. And this Guhataka is actually teachings based on the imagery of a cave, but we have to leave that for another time. Here we only look at the teachings on the 6 kinds of sages. According to this commentary, there are the 6 kinds of sages are those who accomplish the qualities of the 3 kinds of sagehood. So let me briefly just comment on the 3 kinds of sagehood. It's very simple, really. Sagehood here, for the moment, let us say refers to the silence of body, silence of speech, and silence of the mind. A little later I will tell you the meaning of silence. So the silence of the 3 doors, the silence of our whole being, if you like, the inner silence. And this can be experienced by 6 kinds of people. The first kind are the house sages. Agara Munino. Munino is plural. Agara means house. So these are the lay people like us. So if we learn to calm our body and speech and mind, at that moment we are sages. Of course, if you attain stream winning, yes, then you are, you might say, permanent sages. So briefly, we can say silence of body and speech means keeping to the precepts. As long as we are keeping to the precepts, and we rejoice in the fact that we are keeping to the precepts, we know we are keeping the precepts, and right now we are at peace with ourselves keeping the precepts. So that is the silence of the body. The body is silent in the sense that the body does not commit any immoral act. It's at peace with itself. There is a joyful kind of silence, if you like. It is silence is like a clean canvas, like a clear screen on which everything can be seen clearly. The screen itself has no images, but anything can be projected, can be seen very clearly on the screen. The mind is that screen. Okay? Then you have the second kind of sagehood is the sagehood of speech. So here is where we are restrained in our speech. We speak the truth. We speak words that unify people, words which are pleasant and which are beneficial for all kinds of speeches. So if we do that, then of course that's called right. That is the silence of speech. Of course, the deeper silence is we don't have to say anymore because we have totally understood. There's nothing more to say because speech is a means of communication, of teaching. Once we understand, there is no more need of teaching nor learning. That is why the arahats are called non-learners. They do not have to learn anymore. In other words, they already graduated, if you like. So, but remember, this graduation is also based on moral virtue, right? We have this terribly wrong idea that just because someone is a so-called perfect saint, that he can be immoral or he can behave in any way he likes. That is a totally perverted view of the truth. So, here, silence of speech means, firstly, on the simple level, speaking the four right kinds of speeches. On the higher level, it is total silence of speech because there is deep understanding. Speech has served its purpose. Then there is the higher sagehood of all, the sagehood of the mind. The mind itself is silent. Because even though we do not speak, the mind may still chatter, may talk, may be full of ideas and distractions. So here the mind itself is peaceful, joyful, focused, happily focused on itself, so to speak. The mind is at peace. So body, speech and mind are all at peace. That's the sage. So this is a very popular early Buddhist term, especially during the first 10 years of the Buddha's ministry, to describe the saint, not just the Buddha, but any kind of practitioner, including household lay practitioners. So this is the house sage. Number two, you have the homeless sage, or homeless sages as a category, Anagara Munino. Anagara Munino. Anagara, notice agara means house, anagara means no house. Right? Just like English un, they come from the same root. So this is the houseless or homeless sage. These are the wanderers. They've left home and they live on their own to practice the Dharma, unhampered by the world. So they too cultivate silencing the three doors and liberate themselves. Now the third kind of sage is the learner sage, Sekha Munino. Okay, Sekha here comes from, Sekha here is kind of a noun coming from the another noun, Sikha. Sikha in Sanskrit, Siksha, meaning education, learning. So Sekha is the one who learns. He is the true learner. This Sekha are the stream winners, once-returner, non-returners. The arahats, as we know, are the non-learners, the asika. So they are the true learners in the sense that they are walking the Eightfold Path. They're actually moving on the Eightfold Path, practicing the 3 trainings that are the path. The training in moral virtue, as I already mentioned, the training of concentration, the mind, and then training in wisdom. That's the Eightfold Path. So they're really practicing this. They're going through stages from this Srimuni onwards. So these are the learner sages. And then number 4, you have the famous non-learner sages. These are the arahats. They have graduated, there's no more to learn. And then number 5, you have the individual sages, Pacceka Munino. Pacceka can also translate kind of private, as a loner. So this is a Buddha, an Arahat who arises during a time when there are no Buddhas. He awakens on his own. He's fully awakened, but he doesn't teach for various reasons. So people are not ready, and but he's awakened just like any Arahat, any Buddha. So it's called Pacceka Munino. Okay. So the Pacceka Buddha concept is very interesting. It means that even when there are no Buddhas around, it is still possible for certain people to awaken. But these are, of course, exceptions to the rule. It's like ripening of a fruit. A lonely tree in the forest has got these sweet fruits, and it ripens. So these Pacceka Buddhas, or Pratyeka Buddha in Sanskrit, they arise at a time when there are no Buddhas around. But their wisdom ripens and they are free from suffering as Pacceka Buddhas. Then the last one, of course, number 6 here, is the sage of sages. Muni Munino, the sage of sages, of course, is the Buddha himself. There's only one such sage at a time during a world period, more or less, or part of the world period where there is a Buddha. Right? So he's also a sage. He's the greatest sage of all. So we call, sometimes the Buddha is called the Sakya sage, Sakya Muni. So these are the 6 kinds of sages. And there's a poem here, which from Dhammapada 268. Not by silence is one a sage, one who is confused, ignorant, like one holding a balance. They embrace what is noble. So here we are reminded that not by mere silence that we are sages. So this is a special kind of silence. A silence, for example, in the case of the precepts, it's a silence of non-violence, of joy. And then the silence of the mind is that of peace and wisdom. And finally, we have the silence of liberation. So one can be silent or one can be foolish. So that's the worldly kind of silence. Dhammapada 269. He shuns the bad. As such, that sage is indeed a sage, who is wise about both in the world, therefore he is called a sage. So here again, we have this definition of the sage who keeps away from the bad, the unwholesome, and he practices the good, and he frees his mind. Then Dhammapada SN 527 says, knowing the truth about the bad and the good, inwardly and outwardly in all the worlds, who is honored by devas and humans, having gone beyond the power of attachment, he is a sage. So this is a person, a being who is totally freed from all the worlds, from suffering, in other words, totally enlightened. Now, although we may think this very idealistic, very much beyond us today, these are ideals which are very real in the Buddha's time. In other words, what these teachings are telling us is that the potential of the human mind is limitless. If we really train our minds, we can free in unimaginable ways, in other words. It is the body that limits the mind. So this is where a culture, where a civilization is really advanced, it is the mind that is advanced. And now we come to the main sutta, which is a very short and simple one, which talks about the 3 kinds of sagehood. This is the actual sutta, the Iti Vuttaka discourse on sagehood. You notice I use a short form Iti in the Pali title, but in the English, I translate everything, the Iti Vuttaka discourse. Just to help us remember where it is located. This indeed was spoken by the Blessed One, spoken by the Arahat, thus have I heard. This is not spoken by Ananda, this is spoken by Kujutara, the hunchback lady, who goes back and forth, shuttles between the Buddha and the palace, and comes back and tells the queen the teaching she has heard for the day. So this is the teaching she has heard for the day, just a short sutta. Bhikshus, there are these 3 kinds of sagehood. What are they? Bodily sagehood, verbal sagehood, mental sagehood. Right? Body, speech and mind. Bodily sagehood is called kaya muneya. Verbal sagehood is called vachi muneya. Mental sagehood is called mano muneya. These bhikshus are the 3 kinds of sagehood. So notice there's not much commentary here. So this woman comes back from the Buddha and tells, well, these are the 3 things. And of course, surely the queen will ask questions, and there are explanations given by this lady. The Blessed One spoke on this matter. In this connection, he said thus: Kaya muning vachi muning, mano muning anasavam, muning muneya sampannang, ahu ninnata papakanti. The sage of the body, the sage of speech, the sage of the mind that is influx free, the sage who is accomplished in sagehood, he is said to be washed clean of all badness. Right? So there's a summary in verse that the sage has totally silenced body, speech and mind, closed the 3 doors of karma, doesn't trouble him anymore. And he's also influx free. Here, influx free is another way of talking about the defilements do not enter through the 5 sense doors and the mind to trouble us anymore. So this is one that's totally washed clean by the inner washing, not going to a sacred river, not by water, but by your inner purification through liberation of the mind, the peacefulness and silence of the mind. This matter too was spoken by the Blessed One, thus have I heard. Right, so the sutta ends there, it's very short and sweet sutta. And here we can see the purpose of early Buddhism is, in a simple way, to learn how to really cultivate the inner silence. The world outside may be noisy and troubling, but within us there is this peace. And wherever we go, there is this wonderful eye of peace, if you like, the eye of the storm. It's very still. The storm rages around us, but there's always this peaceful eye of peace moving around. So that is how we should cultivate ourselves. So we end here. Close with a short reflection. When we get together, or even when we do it alone, in our meditation, we get into the peaceful state by closing the body door, by sitting peacefully, and closing the speech door, we're not saying anything, we're just at peace with ourselves. And at first the mind door seems open, but slowly we close it by letting go of other thoughts. But in a manner of speaking, we open a different door to get into this wonderful garden of peace, or this ancient city of peace, if you like, that is so peaceful. And this is what all those ancient sages have been doing. And enjoying this inner peace, which we can still enjoy. And this is the true suttas, the true scriptures and the true teachings that we all can practice wherever we are, wherever we are. And this is a wonderful truth, but it's powerful truth. Let us cultivate loving kindness to ourselves first of all, that we may be well and happy, to practice the Buddha's teaching, to experience the silence of the three doors in this life itself, and also to be able to teach and help others in the Dharma, and also to all those, to our families and loved ones, friends and supporters, may they be well and happy too. And to those who are seeking the truth and who are lost, may they too find the right way in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.